In an instant, the scene moved from drama to full-fledged controversy. The scene was captured on camera. Just as Erica Mena surged forward, actual law enforcement arrived and handcuffed Mendeecees. As reports circulated, Yandy was the target. A fiery gaze that the cops could have been tipped off by someone nearby. Tasha K allegedly obtained hidden video evidence that this wasn't a publicity stunt. According to rumors, fans are horrified to hear that loyalty has been shattered at its core. Yet emotions were running hot as Erica kept her position and accused Yandy of concealing the facts throughout the season. The family was split, not knowing who to trust. As security rushed to restrain a furious cast member, this is what really transpired behind the scenes when the cameras eventually stopped filming. Was this a betrayal in the form of whispered threats, boardroom, or an overreaching power play? We dissect each of Tasha K's explosive moments tonight. Astounding confirmation of Erica's unvarnished encounter and the consequences that might permanently alter partnerships. Prepare yourself. On Love and Hip Hop, nothing will ever be the same. As his heart raced in his chest, a Mendeecees single quotes led through the confusion. His face was outlined in sharp shadows by the red and blue lights. That flashed as if the cuffs themselves were heavy. Each stride seemed heavier than the one before it. 1,000 pounds. Erica Mena watched with grim vindication and delight, her lips curving into a victorious sneer as she lingered close by. The truth of what was occurring hit Yandy like a tidal wave, and she remained still. She had taken pride in maintaining the on-keeping Mendeecees safe at any costs. She had unintentionally contributed to the storm's release, but now she was unable to stop it. A set of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta was in ruins behind them. Members of the crew swarmed around, speculating wildly. Despite the fact that real life was permeating their stage play, the producer's frantic need for fodder kept the cameras rolling. Supporters are surprised to observe how easily secrets are revealed and tempers flare, turning fiction into reality. Once a symbol of unity, the family was tearing apart at every turn. Seen on national television, Mendeecees' sister cried out for someone, anyone, to explain why the guy she loved was being punished like a criminal. Security held her back. As she raced at the police vehicle, tears streaming down her face, a dot in the Tasha K paced like a predator in a cage in the corner. As she coordinated with her team, she kept her phone glued to her ear, promising never-before-seen footage, leaked audio recordings, and exclusive interviews. "We're going to break this wide open," she said in a low, pressured voice. They believe they can conceal themselves by real life, has its own script, and it's much darker than anything they've planned. But cameras and scripts, her words reverberated throughout the control room as producers frantically tried to spin the story. They exchanged desperate texts. "Shall we switch to the commercial? Do we speak to the crowd?" The instruction was unambiguous. "Continue to roll." Rating gold was the insanity. DC's single quotations for men. The eyes were fixed on Yandy. There was bewilderment, treachery, and a frantic need for clarification in his eyes. She swallowed, forcefully, burdened by guilt. How could she respond? He had been let down by her. She had heard gossip without checking the facts. She was now a conspirator in a bad dream. Every explanation slid through her fingers like water as her thoughts raced over them. Her lips opened, but nothing came out. Rather, she saw the cops guiding him toward the patrol vehicle as the spotlights crumpled the leather of his jacket. With a steady, razor-sharp voice, Erica took a step forward. She said, "You all believed the lies," in a chilly tone. "You believed that this was a jealousy or ratings issue, but truth always finds a way." Her gaze shifted to Yandy. "You chose loyalty over honesty even though you knew something wasn't right." Weave every word. The strain tightened, as if it would suddenly break. A silence fell, broken only by the gentle sound of cameras shifting focus and the distant crackle of radio. Communication abruptly, a silhouette arose from the darkness. A 10-second footage that was playing on a portable monitor was released by Al. The voice of Tasha K was filled. The air validated everyone's fears. A valid warrant was used to make the arrest. Following a fight at a club several months prior, the screen showed white text about an unpaid fee, an assault charge, and details of property damage. Yandy felt the realization as if it were a bodily blow. Her devotion to Mendeecees had consumed her, and she had neglected the evidence that is mounting against him. Her life was now being torn apart in real time as that proof was shown to millions of people. Fans immediately responded on their phones among the spectators, posing crazy updates about what's trending inside seconds. #EricHabsy Andy, #LHH controversy. Mendeecees arrest. Commenters expressed sympathy for Mendeecees and disapproval of his errors and his rage at Yandy for keeping quiet. Some members of the family accepted Erica's demand for the truth, leaving the family split. Those who support Yandy's allegiance, everyone was no longer certain of their loyalties. When the cops unlocked the squad car's rear door, Mendeecees halted, leaving one foot hanging over the doorway. Time seemed to slow down at that instant. The whole globe held its breath. Would he accept this bizarre change of events and deal with the fallout on his own? Or would he turn around, grab Yandy's hand, and plead for her forgiveness? After the siren broke the tension, he got inside the vehicle and opened the door. Like the decision in a courtroom play, it slammed shut behind him. Erica took the chance to speak straight into the cameras. Her tone was composed and authoritative. She said this was never only amusement. There are instances when reality has more impact than fantasy. Her remarks sparked a new round of responses. While some booed, others cheered. But everyone was captivated by the moment's unadulterated intensity as they watched. Yandy collapsed headfirst into a box backstage. Her breath came in rough gasps, and tears tugged at her fingers. A companion came up, extending a consoling hand and murmuring urgent assurances. However, Yandy flinched, feeling even more alone, more so than before. She reflected on all the situations she had shot, the secrets she had concealed, the times she had smiled in spite of her fears. The harsh light of reality now overpowered those times, making them seem empty. She remained steadfast in the distance, refusing to be disregarded. Until they obtained answers, she insisted that the director stop the project. "This isn't again," she screamed, her voice brittle yet determined. "This is the life of my brother." There was a startled stillness as her appeal echoed across the stage. Yes, even the most seasoned crew members looked at each other uneasily, acknowledging that this was more than simply plot twists. It was terrible, irrevocable, and personal. The lights of the squad car faded into the darkness as it withdrew. Erica's eyes blazed as she turned to Yandy. "Ask yourself," she said, "what matters more? Devotion to a myth or devotion to the truth?" For the first time, Yandy saw not just an enemy but a woman who accepted that fact. No matter how painful, as she glanced up and met Erica's stare, was worth battling for. The aftermath was electrifying. The rest of the cast there, surrounded in a circle, faces lit by the fading setlight reflections and the brightness of phone displays. Each of them tried to make sense of the broken trust and strained ties as they chatted in low voices. The family was split apart and uncertain about their ability to ever put back together what had been destroyed in one violent moment. Through the speakers above the din, Tasha K's voice sounded, promising more disclosures, further material that has been released, and exclusive interviews with those who are eager to come forward. Fans couldn't take their eyes off it. Everyone was left wondering where the cameras would go next, and who would survive since the distinction between the genuine crises and the staged reality had become so hazy. The precinct lobby was bustling with bustle as Mendeecees was taken inside, his footfall resonating on the linoleum floor as the credits finally rolled. Tasha K and Erica trailed closely behind, their microphones ready to record every word. Yandy shoulders dropped as she saw her companion enter the room. Ambiguity. The walls appeared to close in on her while she stayed outdoors, every breath weighed down by anxiety and expectation. Viewers at home were forced to reevaluate their views on friendship, loyalty, and the hazy boundary between performance and truth. The shackles were still causing the wrists to tingle as they sat on a metal seat within Mendeecees. A slender, calm investigator with a file came in. "Mr. Frost," he said without introducing himself, "there have been claims of assault, property damage, and a brawl. Do you want to say something?" Mendeecees heaved his chest and straightened. His voice was low as he replied, "I was protecting someone. I'll tell you everything." While Tasha K prepared her phone for a live stream, Erica stood outside the door, waiting for her line. Yandy's thoughts was spinning with remorse and fear as she walked the corridor. Returning to the set, the rest of the cast under the bright studio lights, they stood in a semicircle. As Rashidita browsed through her phone's live updates, her palms shook. Her voice was strained as she murmured, "They're interrogating him now." Papoose and Fedra looked at each other anxiously. Fedra whispered, "This is going to ruin this season. We cannot get out of this by editing." Papoose positioned a hand on her shoulder. "It now permeates his existence and goes beyond a plot." Crew workers across the room complied tensely. The producer's directives to continue recording despite the vacant stage seats and strewn about accessories, with the goal of preserving any video that may be used. Useful video. Erica, meanwhile, was backstage with the spotlight off camera, but the whole world's eyes on her. She looked into Tasha K's eyes, went to her with a sense of both reverence and need for feeling. "Have you seen the video of him in handcuffs?" Erica's voice asked, quiet but urgent. With her fingers flitting over her phone, Tasha K nodded. It's already popular, she said. It is being devoured by fans. Mandis, as they think his own betrayed him. A tight grin escaped Erica's lips. Excellent. Let them see the consequences. Yandy battled two impulses in the corridor. To go after Mendeecees, to saturate them with confidence and apologies, then to withdraw into quiet, as if nothing had occurred. As soon as the detective's door opened, Mendeecees came out with a pale face and determined eyes. The world seemed to shrink to the size of the screen as he locked eyes with Yandy. Separation between them. She trembled and reached out. I'm so sorry, she said whispered. Without saying a word, he closed the distance and took her hand gently. Their silence was a powerful tool. Love, regret, and cracks that may never heal. Erica notices the silent opening outside. Lean and resolute, her hair cascading about her face, she walked toward the cameras. She said, "This was never about drama." To the camera, accountability was at issue here. Tasha K cut onto another live feed behind her. Erica's case serves as evidence that sometimes breaking the law is necessary in order to expose the truth. Erica's words caused Yandy's heart to tighten. A part of her respected Erica's bravery. Another part of her was angry that she had taken over the story and used the facts as a weapon. Mendeecees consented to respond to a series of questions back at the station. The investigator moved papers across the table, including pictures of a shattered bottle, a broken vehicle door, and an injured cheek. He murmured, "Explain these," and DC closed his eyes. "I lost control," he began to confess. "I first thought this was all a show, but I started responding to falsehoods that I believed it to be true." He looked into the one-way mirror, aware that Yandy and Erica were observing, and thought, "Someone was out to get me. The people I trusted betrayed me, not the camera crew," he said. #S like #betrayed, #LHjustice, and #truthbomb swept up Twitter feeds as fans at home engaged in wild speculation. Some supporters believed Mendeecees was the victim of circumstantial evidence, while others Tasha K tweeted a dramatic countdown to her exclusive interview with the confidential witness, who tipped off police, arguing that the warrant spoke for itself. Her comments were filled by fans, and the need for confrontations, receipts, and disclosures became unquenchable. The mood on set was electric. As Fedra and a producer battled over whether to cut to an unplanned reunion, she argued that we need to address this with the cast on camera, saying that fans should be given closure. The producer hesitated, glancing toward Yandy, whose red-rimmed eyes betrayed exhaustion. "She's not ready," he murmured, and Fedra slammed her hand against a table. "If you keep concealed beneath lines of letters, we need honesty," Rashida said as she moved forward and cleared her throat. "This show trades on vulnerability," she said. "Why are we here at all if we are incapable of taking responsibility for our errors?" Everyone was surprised by how solid her voice sounded, and then a new dynamic appeared. Truth brought the characters together, dissolving their prior power and favor structures as they faced a communal reckoning. Hours later, Yandy was escorted back to the set in silence. Even Erica, who had handled truth like a blade, found herself listening, engrossed in the seriousness of Rashida's remarks. Cameras turned immediately as she halted at the doorway, surrounded by two helpers. Taking a deep breath, trying to regain her voice, she approached a solitary microphone with shaking hands, and the quiet was deafening. Then, I was wrong, she said in a trembling but determined voice. "I allowed hearsay to influence my decisions. I thought that keeping the facts to myself was necessary to protect my relationship. However, loyalty devoid of integrity is treachery." There was a communal silence. Her revelation was the focus of attention from the cast, crew, and domestic viewers. Erica saw Yandy's unfathomable look. The tension between them seemed to temporarily subside into mutual understanding. Chaos brought two women together. Both are motivated by love, and secrets pushed them into confrontation. The sound of Erica's voice drifted across the screens. "The first step is that." Yandy nodded, her eyes sparkling. A tenuous ceasefire was established at that moment, founded on the idea that, when handled with honesty, suffering may become a source of meaning. Tasha K grabbed, transitioning to a split screen in real time. Yandy's tearful expression and Erica's victorious posture admission. She said that this is how reality should feel. Not produced raw life happening, yet with drama. There was equal parts applause and criticism from the fans. A furious argument broke out. Was this manipulation or redemption? Is the truth a tool or a reward? Even Mendeecees was still cuffed, so the boundary became hazy. As he watched the broadcast from backstage, He felt the effects of his decisions. Cease moved toward Cesara, who had been quiet all along. In a little dark nook, "The words we need to stick together," Cease muttered. With tears in her eyes, Cesara nodded. They exchanged a look that suggested a restored sense of devotion and the potential for recovery. The family may be deeply divided, all right. However, the fractures revealed by the potential for light, an opportunity to restore trust from the ruins. The press area was hurriedly set up on the property in the meanwhile. Reporters poured down in droves. They shoved microphones forward. Cameras flashed. With the help of a publicist, and Rashida Yandy responded to inquiries with fresh poise. She stated, "This isn't over. However, I swear to be truthful going forward." The declaration lingered in the atmosphere like a challenge, beckoning examination, and even pardon. The hours grew into the night. The studio lights went down as the set gradually cleared away, leaving behind props that were strewn around as a reminder of the mayhem that had occurred. Leaving behind nothing except the light from camera monitors showing real-time commentary feeds and social media responses. At home, viewers perused forums that speculated about next steps, potential legal ramifications, formed coalitions, and who would weather the storm with more strength. The night's events ultimately demonstrated that reality TV's greatest strength is its capacity to exaggerate our perceptions of reality and mirror actual life decisions and make us face the repercussions. Mendeecees and Erika Yandy both had to deal with the consequences of public opinion, but in the midst of the chaos, each also had a flash of insight. One fact remained certain as this dramatic chapter came to an end. The most compelling stories emerge in Atlanta's love and hip-hop scenes when cameras record more than just performances. They seize the human exposed heart. Over a cast house humming with gossip, the next morning broke. Like restless ghosts, whispers creep down the corridors. Did you hear that a new recording was discovered by Tasha K? Today, Yandy's attorney will arrive. Erika is already working on the next statement she will make, as if everyone knew that the consequences would be much more intense when the cameras returned. There was a palpable sense of dread and expectation in the air. Mendeecees was confined to his temporary holding cell as judicial proceedings proceeded, still absorbing what had happened. His lawyer rushed to negotiate bail behind closed doors. However, every new discovery seemed to advance the goalposts further. Distant Erika waited behind a canopy of flashing cameras outside the precinct. She was shoved up to microphones by reporters. Her voice was calm yet forceful as she came forward. It was her insistence that I never wanted him to suffer. All I wanted was for the truth to be revealed. There was a clamor of applause and indignation in response to her remarks. Tasha K was nearby and live-streamed the whole event. Dramatic gasps and promises of much more startling proof interspersed her discourse. Thousands of fans eagerly awaited the next development in this developing drama. Yandy returned to the set, accompanied by a small group of devoted supporters and her publicist. She stopped at the door, shielding herself from the barrage of inquiries. Every photographer's flash seemed like a dagger against her determination. She recalled last night's allegation from Erika. Loyalty was your choice. Over candor, and the guilt's hold on her heart grew stronger. However, she also recalled Mendeecees' gaze on her. His eyes made a silent plea. She was aware that she needed to confront the world, accept responsibility for her errors, and stand up for the guy she loved. The rest of the actors assembled inside the studio around a big mahogany table that had been transformed into improvised chairs out of boxes. Rashida bent forward, in a low but determined voice. She responded, "We have to tell our story. Our way. Let's avoid Tasha K's or network politics," she stated. "Game defines us," she remarked. Fedra wiped a tear from her cheek and nodded. She reminded everyone that we had experienced storms before. If we stick together, we can get through this. Although there was a hesitant nod of agreement among the group, the tension was not quite gone. Mendeecees, meanwhile, paced like a lion in a cage in a small green room. Opposite him, his lawyer sat with his hands folded, whispering, "The bail hearing is this afternoon," the attorney stated. Mendeecees ran a hand through his hair and said, "We need statements from people who can attest to your character." He couldn't stop thinking about Yandy's emotional confession of Erika's icy victory over the secret tape that Tasha K had vowed to make public. He knew that he would need to trust someone to protect his freedom, but he was no longer certain who. It was deserving of that confidence. No longer have faith. The bail hearing took place in a sterilized courtroom a few hours later. The judge scanned with a neutral look the document in front of her. Holding the recording device that had the disputed tape, Erika sat rigidly upright in the gallery. Yandy showed there alone, accompanied by a pricey lawyer whose name was well known. The tension was palpable as the courtroom doors opened and Mendez was escorted inside. The rear wall was plastered with tabloid cameras. Every expression is coveted by their lenses, presenting the warrant information with clinical accuracy. The prosecutor stood up first. Alleged commotion in the municipality, property destruction, and assault. The reality Mendez wished to express was obscured by each accusation, which hovered in the air like smoke. Then Yandy's lawyer got up and made a sincere appeal. My customer thought she was keeping her lover safe. She steps forward and begs for forgiveness. To establish the two, set the record right. He portrayed Yandy as a devoted confidant who was committed to making apologies despite being blinded by devotion. Spectators, some empathetic, others doubtful, whispered. Erica's turn came. Next, she stood, holding the bulky recording equipment. Your Honor, she said steadily at first. With muffled sounds, she showed the film and said, I bring evidence that proves this arrest was no mistake. The piercing sound of glass shattering, an image of Mendeecees' enraged fists swinging. Jurors leaned forward as gasps echoed around the courtroom. Erica hit play once again in slower speed, emphasizing the Mendez glanced at someone off camera for a brief moment before losing his temper. This is the reality that Yandy chose to overlook. Yandy's face blanched as Erica said, it's time to stop piecing together stories and face reality. She looked at Mendez, whose mouth dropped, her eyes welling with tears as Erica's proof rocked her case. Gripped in agony, the judge called for order by tapping her gavel. I will consider all testimony, she said. Bail is set at $50,000 and shoulders sagged as the hearing adjourned. Yet Yandy went to the judge and said, determination replacing despair. I ask for Anne. She begged for an extension to collect money. He can't remain in that cell for another. Second, the court allowed a short hiatus, enabling Yandy to go and gather her followers. Cameras flashed and supporters yelled outside. With an unfathomable expression, Erica observed from the stairs. Mike pushed forward and Tasha Case swooped in. How are you feeling, Erica? She said, panting. Erica's head cocked. Justice takes time, she said, but sometimes it takes time for the truth to come out. Through the falsehoods, as all was going on, Yandy ran to an SUV where Rashida and Cease were waiting with a bail check. Yandy's hands trembled as she accepted the letter. Tears mingled with relief. She said, thank you, in a whisper. I'll fix this, I promise. Says nodded, in a strong voice. We're family. She said that. We don't quit by ourselves. Softly, Rashida added, from now on, just be truthful. Yandy let out a breath, reserving herself for the next battle. Mendez paced the holding area back at the precinct, observing the passing of time till his freedom. Every second seemed to drag on forever. The door then opened, and breathless Yandy hurried in, holding the bail documents. There was only their embrace for a moment as the guard uncuffed his wrists. Forgiveness hung between them like brittle glass as the tears fell freely. A local news crew's cameras trained on the reunion, documenting each sob and muttered apology. As they emerged, security on either side, Tasha K's live broadcast allowed them to hear Erica's voice. See how you were set free by the truth? Yandy was reminded that their narrative was now public knowledge and would be examined, analyzed, and remixed by the words which sliced through her happiness. She looked at Erica, whose hair was blowing in the wind as she stood on the precinct. Steps wind, shadows contrasting sharply with the blue and red lights. With a gesture of recognition, Yandy turned back to Mendeecees, intent on taking back their story. The cast got back together for a special taping that night. A row of seats and a single sofa were arranged on the stage under a glistening arch. The producers organized a live conversation. The consequences, the truth, and the future. Viewers were drawn in by the millions, waiting for more drama and resolution. Yandy and Mendez sat on each side of Erica, who was positioned in the middle as the moderator. Scandal's electric siblings were the tension. Vulnerability unites us. The part was introduced by Erica. Everybody knows how brittle trust can be. She looked from one to the other. We talk openly tonight. Exhaling, Yandy found strength in Erica's challenge. Failed, she said in a trembling but distinct voice. Loyalty meant concealment to me. I now realize that the purest kind of love is honesty. Warmth radiated through the confusion as Mendez reached for her hand. I pardon you, he murmured quietly. However, we must start again. Tears and sobbing reverberated across the studio as the crowd cheered and applauded. During the moment, Tasha K described it as the season's redemption arc. Social media was inundated with compliments from fans. They're genuine at last. This is how reality television ought to be. Yandy's heart was correct, but so was Erica. Reconciliation has replaced controversy as the main topic of discussion. The drama was by no means overdone. However, later Yandy and Erica had a private encounter backstage. When the set lights went down, only the light from faraway displays, Erica touched Yandy on the shoulder. "Thank you for owning up," she commented. Yandy grinned despite her tears. She said, "Thank you for forcing my hand." They gave each other a nod that went beyond